Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Inside ProCents. It's been a little while, and we are super excited for this episode because we have a lot of exciting news going on. This year, we've made a transition from fee-based transactions to actually launching our own trade show. And with this trade show, an event that's coming up October 22nd through the 24th at Lake Lanier Islands in Beaufort, Georgia, we are going to be bridging gaps in between the silos of energy partners. And that could be HVAC, that could be plumbing, refrigeration, lighting, or just electrical. And we also don't want to forget our recycling partners. But with that, I feel there's not a better person on the planet to talk about selling energy or bridging gaps than the man himself, Mark Jewell, the author, best-selling book, Selling Energy. Mark, thank you for being on. And tell me a little bit about selling energy.
Sure. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me on the show. I've been in the business for over 30 years. And right after Wharton, I got into the energy efficiency consulting business and have been in there, have had the blessing of influencing 3 billion square feet of real estate decision making when it comes to energy. About 10, 12 years ago, it occurred to me that the reason that more projects didn't get done was not because there was a shortage of technologies or a shortage of technologists or even a shortage of rebates. It was because most people in this business were accidental salespeople. Matt and I have talked about this before. And, I thought if I dedicated the next 10 or 12 years of my career to helping everybody in this industry sell better, become more persuasive and really more concise and more compelling, we could create a rising tide that floats all boats. So the last company was venture capital backed, but this one's, homegrown, bootstrapped and family owned. And, we've had a good run. I mean, you have the Wall Street Journal best-selling book and lots of sales training awards, but the biggest claim to fame is 15,000 or so people have already taken this training and they've learned to sell their offerings more effectively. What I really love about what we do, and this is really tying into the theme of your conference there, your convention or trade show, is that there are so many people out there that take the time to, they spend marketing dollars, they do sales activities, they build rapport, they get relationships set up, and then they become a one-trick pony. They sell them a lighting retrofit, or they sell them an HVAC replacement project, or they sell them a retro commissioning project, or maybe a solar panel. But they don't realize if they just looked up and down, left and right, they'd find all these other opportunities. And I was joking with Matt before the show that my mother was 100% Sicilian, God rest her soul, and olive oil was featured prominently in my childhood diet. And no self-respecting Sicilian would squeeze an olive just once. And once you're in the door, you should have a bevy of other people's business cards saying, I noticed when I was doing the lighting retrofit last night that your compressors were running full scream and nobody's using any air tools. That says to me that you probably have a leak. And I've got a guy, boom, here's the business card. And then when the air compressor guy is going out there doing maintenance on his systems, he looks up before he leaves the village. Holy cow, you've got 1,000-watt metal halide lamps. I got a guy who can get those half paid for by the utility. You'd save all this money. So that I got a guy, or a gal for that matter, that could really help this industry. And I really applaud what you're doing there, Matt, trying to get these industries to talk to each other. I call it the co-opetition. The people that are not competing with each other, but they have different sets of customers. They have customers that you would like to do business with, but they don't sell what you sell. And they're the perfect group to cooperate with, saying, give me your 3 top lead qualifying questions. And I'll ask them of all my customers. And if I get two or three out of the 3 is yes, I'll give you their name. And in return, here are my 3 top qualifying questions to see whether your customers are candidates for my offerings. And if you get 2 or 3 yeses on those 3 questions, you give me their name. And there are precedents for people doing this and just having hockey stick growth curves in their business, because finally they're giving customers cross-selling, upserving. They're really just getting more squeezes out of the olive. Mm-hmm. And they're basically being much more sensible and helpful for the customer, because the customer gets deeper savings. So, I mean, I could talk for 40 hours on this topic, how enthusiastic I am, Matt, but I really do applaud what you're doing, because getting these people together in the same room and actually trying to bond and say, listen, I've got these customers. What do you need? I've got those customers. You've got these customers. How can we work together? That's a really productive exercise.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I've noticed in my years being more of a lighting expert is been, as a lighting expert, and you work for a manufacturer, you might be limited on your portfolio of products. You might only have something that fits a socket as opposed to a fixture. And now, but you need to have those partners for those that don't want to fill a socket and they're looking to do something else, especially when rebates dictate that. So I've always tried to create these co-ops between other people and just get to know people. And I've told people with the show, this is not about showing the widgets, it's about knowing the person and figuring out how you can work together. And to that point of asking those questions, it's like, hey, what are your lead in questions? And if I get 2 or 3 answers that are yes, great. I'm going to give those to you. Same back and forth, because I might be great at lighting and there might be someone who's great at HVAC, but if we get together, we are excellent at both in providing a solution. And I think that's what people really need, is a network of people, because there are a lot of websites out there that promote referrals, and we
Mm.
all look at Google reviews before maybe going to a restaurant or checking into a hotel. So I have not found a better referral base than actually saying, hey, let me pull out my phone or give a card to someone saying, this is my guy, as you said. And I think that when you can say, this is my guy, it helps break down that level of anxiety and mistrust and saying, well, I trust him. I'm going to give this guy a shot. And
Exactly.
then, and that warm introduction makes a huge difference.
Well, you're absolutely right. And there are statistics out there that leads that come from referrals are tremendously more likely to close, right? They're really hot leads. They're warm leads. They're not cold calls.
Mhm.
The other statistic I was quoting in a keynote I did yesterday down in Arkansas was, once you get a referral, the likelihood that referral will continue buying from you is a lot higher than if you had just gotten that customer off the street through
Mhm.
strangers, because they came to you from a referral. They have this confirmation bias. They continue to like you because they shortened their due diligence when they first bought from you because their friend said you were the guy to go to,
Mhm.
and they're more likely to give you a little slack if something goes wrong. They're going to still stay with you because you came highly recommended from Joe or Jane or whatever. So it's a win-win. You get the customer more quickly, you get the closing ratio being higher, and you get the referral, the renewals happening more likely because they're already embedded in your relationship.
And I think
Um,
that's what most people need, because if we look at traditional sales methodology, they say it's 6 or 7 touch points before they trust. So
yep,
having that warm referral, that cuts it down in half. That
yep,
lead time of prospecting is greatly improved. And like you said earlier, it's that hockey stick effect. And
yes,
that's what every organization is looking for, no matter what industry you're in. You're looking to grow your business. And
yep,
how are you going to do that? And I think
yeah.
this is a great way.
There's a funny story that I included in that book, which I'm happy to give everybody who has access to a free copy of. We talked about that before we adjourned, but there's a book about a spring water vendor, commercial spring water vendor, and a commercial plant maintenance vendor who were commiserating at a bar about how sick and tired they were getting thrown out of buildings, knocking on tenant doors, until finally security caught up with them and said, "Sorry, sir, there's no soliciting in this building." So they were commiserating about that. And then he realized, wait a second, if you take a look at our two customer bases, we only overlap at probably 5% of our customers, which means every time you go in and deliver spring water, you could easily take the long way around the kitchen and see if they have any plants that were worthy of commercial plant maintenance. And and in turn, when the buddy goes in to do commercial plant maintenance, where does he go to get the water to water the plants? He goes to the kitchen, and that's where the spring water is. So we can see what kind of which competitors' water is in there, what size, form factor bottles they have, how many bottles they have on the floor, and they could each introduce each other to their respective customers' office managers. And they did that. And that's where that hockey stick growth curve came. Very simple. Spring water guy, commercial plant maintenance guy, they're different vendors, slight overlapping clients, but not much. When they got the overlapping clients to be greater, they wound up selling each other's clients their services, and there was never any brand confusion because nobody expected the commercial plant guy to be selling spring water or vice versa. There was no brand confusion at all.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
I
a
think,
great story.
and I think a lot of people, they're very good at maintaining their brand authenticity and being very authentic to what they do. But it's the question that asks is when the customer asks for something outside of their scope of work,
Mhm.
the deer in the headlight approach. They're like, they're stuck. And
Yeah.
how do you get
It's a
out of that?
lost
And
opportunity.
that's, and,
It's
and
a lost opportunity. I mean, if you have this premeditated network of good reputation vendors in each one of these disciplines, you can do your customers all sorts of, uh, you really give them a favor, you do them a favor. Because I look at, there are lots of things you can buy on Amazon, right? And what do? You look for a number of stars, number of reviews. If you had to research everything you bought on Amazon, it'd be a life's work. So you
mhm,
look at, somebody else bought this product, 25,000 people, average 4.5 star reviews. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to assume that all those reviews are not done by a bot,
yeah,
right? But then you go and you're in the building, if you're in lighting, I mean, I started my career in lighting. In fact, my 12-year-old daughter's middle name is Lumen. That's how much lighting is in our blood. But, lighting efficiency, we did millions of square feet of it. And I know that when you do lighting efficiency, you save energy, maybe you get a rebate, but most importantly, it improves the environment, improves productivity, it decreases scrap rate, it increases pick and pack accuracy, it increases senior living home health outcomes, all that fun stuff. But the same person who buys the lighting retrofit, it's not as if, I mean, you should feel guilty leaving if they have bad air conditioning after you leave with the lighting,
Mhm.
because they could just as easily improve thermal comfort, indoor air quality, and get more of those segment specific benefits. So you're doing your customer a great service, not leaving savings on the ground, on the floor,
Mhm.
or the table, I should say. And by making sure that they get another squeeze of the olive, because they've got, I mean, very few of your vendors that belong to your trade show are going to say when they leave a customer, there is no other savings that that customer could get in any of their other building systems. I
Absolutely.
mean, it's impossible. I mean, really, like maybe 1% of buildings couldn't do any improvement. They're
Yeah.
the 99 score Energy Star buildings, but most
Yeah.
other buildings, they could do 4 or 5 things, and you only sold them one.
Yep. And you're leaving a resource behind and an opportunity to be an advocate for that person you're working with to help them look better in front of their peers, their bosses,
Yeah,
which is what everyone's looking to do. They're looking to make an impact no matter where they're working. And if you can help provide that person the ammunition to be better, even if they don't do that project that quarter and they put it
yep,
off the next quarter, but you brought it to their um, up in front of them. And I've
yeah,
always
yeah.
told people I'd rather know who I am and what I can do for you than not know who I am and need my services. Um,
Yeah.
because there's a lot to be out. There's a lot to be done within the product set of saving energy.
Yes, yes. Yesterday in the keynote, I mentioned Seth Godin, New York Times bestselling author, marketing genius. He says there's a hierarchy of things that a non-business owner cares about in a business-to-business transaction.
Mhm.
This is somebody who doesn't own the business, but they're a manager, and this is what a, a lot of us sell to these kinds of people. And the hierarchy is this: the first one is avoiding risk. The second one is avoiding hassle. The third and fourth ones are gaining power and praise in the organization. The fifth one is enjoying their job, having fun on the job. And the sixth one is saving money or making money.
Mhm.
So if you have a manager that you've sold a retrofit to, and they are faced now with a different problem. Let's say you sold a lighting project, but now their people are having chronic and acute tenant comfort problems.
Mhm.
They don't want the risk. They don't want the hassle. They want to get some power and praise in the organization for having done the right thing. They want their problems to go away so they have a better time at the job. So if you give them a solution through one of your vendor partners, your co-opetition, automatically you're taking a lot of risk off the table because they now know this guy, and they're not going to have a problem wearing a 3-egg omelet on their face when they hire this guy because you already know this guy.
Yep.
The hassle is going to be less because you already gave them a referral. They don't have to go out to RFP or research on, in the white pages or yellow pages to try to find a vendor.
Mhm.
They can gain power and praise in the organization because you introduce them to a vendor that's going to make them look proud and
Mhm.
make them proud. And then it's going to have better fun on the job. Whether they make money or save money, that's really not most of their interest because they're not paying the utility bill anyway. So they're not really going to appreciate the savings too much. But all those other things that they really have top of mind,
Mhm.
you can check those boxes by referring vendor partners that you trust, that you
Yeah.
could depend.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I appreciate all that. And one, I want to say again, thank you so much for your time. As we come to the end of this, I want to say if you're looking to find out more about Mark's books or his classes to get better prepared at selling energy, I'm going to link it in the description below the video so you can reach out to him directly or Jason Lopez, who's also on this call, or myself or JR Edens. We want to make sure that you get the resources. That way you can improve your organization and also improve your skill sets. That way you feel more adequate when you're standing in front of your customers.
Yes.
With that, we're also going to hopefully have a couple of copies of the book, at the trade show, or at least a link there. So when you show up at the show, you can get one, even if it's coming to you. But please reach out to us and visit us in October 22nd through the 24th at Lake Lanier Islands for the ProCents show. If you have any questions, you can email me directly. You'll have my email directly in the link below. And again, if you want to find more about selling energy and doing it the right way. I've read Mark's book. I've seen him talk a couple times, and he brings the truth. It's not about selling the widget. It's about selling what people recognize. And one of the things I always clicks in my head is a restaurant owner, they don't know about watts and lumens, but they know about how many burgers they need to sell. So if you can talk to them in their language, you're going to close more sales. And that's what we're all trying to do. And I'm hoping we can bring the industries together so we can build this co-opetition all together. But
Yeah.
thank you so much, Mark.
Hey, you're welcome. Before you adjourn, I will tell everybody who's watching this that we do give out complimentary copies of our book in whatever format you like, a hardcover of the 230-page book, an ebook, or an audio book. And you just need to go to our website at sellingenergy.com. Very clear instructions on how to order that book. We'll send you as many copies as you want for your team. It's our way of rising it, basically helping create a rising tide that floats all boats in this industry. Because God knows, I saw a statistic the other day that 46% of people are in sales never intended to be in sales. But I'll tell you something, when I take polls of audiences large and small, and I say, how many people, if I were to ask you at dinner at age 11, whether you want to be in sales, how many people would you, or what you want to do when you grew up, how many people would have raised their hand and say, I want to be in sales? And not, frankly, no hands go up. So I don't even know if the 46% is even an accurate number.
Yeah.
When my dad told me at age 11, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I gave him 4 half-tailed answers. He said, Mark, the best way to prosper yourself is to prosper others. And that is in fact true. And that is in fact the first sentence of that Wall Street Journal best-selling book. So get yourself a copy for free on me. Matt, again, thanks for having me on the show. And hopefully this trade show is going to be successful. It deserves to be.
Yeah. Well, first year we've ripped the Band-Aid off. We're moving forward. Can't have the second show until we have the first. But again, at ProCents, we are all about the power of connections and bringing industry partners together to help, as Mark says so poetically, co-opetition. And with that, thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next episode of Inside ProCents.